Hey there, comic friends. I'm Travis. It's time for another edition of Monster Comics Reviews. This is for comics from 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago would have been the first week of June. I had a massive pull, 20 some odd books between my my non-superhero books and my superhero books. I got 15 books to talk about here. I debating on whether or not I should split this up or whatnot. Depending on how much I feel like I have to talk about these, I may split this in half like the old days, or I may just plow on through them as I don't have a lot to talk about. Some of them, maybe. We'll see. Anyway, let's get right into it. Comics, Astro City, #1. I've been waiting 3 years for this book. 3 years ago, I went to Emerald City Comic Con in March of 2010, and these creators, and at the time, Wildstorm said, yes, we're going monthly, and I was like, hell yeah, because I've read some of the other Astro City stuff, really enjoyed it, really like the way that Kurt Busiek writes a story, how he pulls us in, and it gives us really interesting perspectives on the whole Astro City universe that he has. And at the time he said, yeah, it'll be new reader friendly, jump on, and me and Ethan were all excited. Spin ahead 3 years, company being shut down. Now suddenly it's a Vertigo imprint, but it is still a superhero comic through and through. I enjoyed this first issue. One of our main characters in here, the Broken Man, he pretty much kind of breaks the fourth wall through most of the book, talking to us. Interesting, the very end of it, where we find out the Broken Man really is kind of interesting and fun. We got this doorway that everybody's interested in, that's just appeared out in the bay. Get this doorway open, this very Kirby-esque person comes out, extra large person that one of our non-superheroes, a seemingly Joe citizen, has agreed to have conversation with, so this entity from another dimension or another place can learn about human society and stuff, so then they can talk to the superior powers and negotiate whatever they might need to negotiate to move us as a society and a world forward into greater and greater things, an alliance with this group of people. Get introduced to some characters in here that are kind of fun, but a pretty standard way of Astro City telling a lot of its stories. A chunk of the story is going to be told, I think, through the eyes of a normal person participating in a world full of superheroes, which is a great, in my opinion, vantage point for a lot of stories and stuff. So, very fun, rock solid beginning to Astro City. If you have any curiosities about it, I suggest you pick it up. I thought it was enjoyable, and a good ride. I'll be curious to see if it stays as a $4 book though. I'm interested in that, $3.99. You know, because I don't know that all the Vertigo titles were always. I mean, well, I know that the past Vertigo titles haven't all been that price, so I don't know if that's a new thing or not. But I think worth it. Very successful track record with the Astro City books and whatnot. If you're not interested in picking it up in singles, go out and buy some of those other trades. There's some great trades out there, some great books. Anyway. Batwing issue 21. Fights more with this centaur lion person. Does end up winning after being beat up severely. Let's see what I want to say about it. I don't know. It's an okay book. This character isn't a whole lot different than Nightwing, really. I'm having a problem differentiating between the two. I think one of my good friends here on YouTube, John, DC DaCosta, Comics, John. I think he's right in a lot of ways in the fact that this feel, I think that there are a number of characters that kind of seem like they're Nightwing-ish Talon to some degree, you know, the acrobatics and whatnot. This guy has the same kind of smart mouth, always talking, always joking, always having a whatever. And to me, that really always seemed to be Nightwing / Robin, Dick Grayson. That always seemed to be his shtick, was to be kind of the, you know, talking all the time, banter kind of a person. And this guy is exactly the same way as that. I don't know. I'm going to give this a few issues. It's not a bad comic. I'm just not excited about it, and I'm reaching a point where I need to start moving away from some of my mediocre comics. So, like, I'm getting a lot of books, and there's a lot of more books coming out that I'm interested in checking out, and I can't really check those out financially if I don't choose to give something up somewhere. So this might be one of those that I give up unless we move in, we're away from Africa, and some new, different, exciting stuff happens. I mean. In this, Lucius Fox continues to go after his kid for basically throwing his life away, not knowing that he's Batwing, but just thinking that he's a vagabond wandering in the world. This army of insects, well, they're not actually insects, they're people who are dressed like insects, are going to attack him in his home, it looks like. We'll see. We'll see. Fearless Defenders, issue 5. Issue 5. We got this is becoming a relatively standard type of cover. I've seen it done quite a few times now by both companies. You got your fight selector there, and of course it looks like a fighting game between Valkyrie and She-Hulk, the Jen, which would be an awesome fight, and I'd put all of my money on She-Hulk. See all these people on this cover? They're all in here. That's pretty cool. Basically, Misty Knight goes off to get some help, because they know they're going to need help going up against this large group of Doom Maidens. She basically just grabs every female person she could get. And they all show up. There's some amusing lines in this. You know, with our archaeologist who isn't on the cover, unfortunately. She should have been. I think, you know, she should have been one of these people on the cover. That would have made it even more fun. But yeah, they're all here briefly. I don't know how long that'll last, that they'll have that many different that many different of the heroines around. It's kind of cool. This is kind of a fun book. I wish the art was more solid. I love these covers. The covers are really cool. The art inside to me feels somewhat inconsistent. This is one of those books I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to go on with. I'm enjoying it, but it's not completely rocking my socks off. There are some fun parts to it. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of substance, and I guess I either want a really, really fun, just laugh my ass off comic book, or I want a comic book with some actual substance to it, some actual real meat and actual genuineness to it, and I don't feel that with this comic. It's not, like I said, not a bad comic. It's fun as far as just a straightforward superhero comic, but I'm asking for more. I'm asking for more. So, Detective Comics, issue 21, The Shadow Assassin. Lots of Roy Harper? No. Harper Row. Lots of Harper Row in this issue, which I thought was interesting because, of course, that seems to be a Scott Snyder character. But here, she is in this with John Layman writing it. I think John does a great job of portraying the character. Solid job of making it seem just like the same character that we've seen in the Batman titles. A character comes back from Detective Comics issue 0. A woman who assassinates one of Bruce's early martial arts teachers, who Bruce had thought that they had killed. Nope, she wasn't dead. She faked her death. She's being trained by the League of Assassins and Ra's al Ghul. And it happens to be that she's in Gotham to assassinate some diplomat, and Harper and Batman tangle with her. She's got kind of cool power. She kind of controls a shadow around her that gives her extra arms and weaponry and stuff like that, which I thought was pretty cool. Defeat her by hitting her with a big spotlight, and Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't a bad. I like most of the Detective Comics since John Layman's taken control of the book. It's very straightforward, very fun. Not super deep, but very, very enjoyable. This issue is actually, the artwork was done by Scott Eaton. I thought the artwork was fine in it. Not the Jason Fabok that who did the cover, who I think is an outstanding superhero comic book artist. But yeah, still enjoyable. Adds a little more to, gives us hints at the League of Assassins, which is a really cool group of people who definitely need to be back in the New 52. We start seeing hints of Ra's al Ghul and whatnot, and that's all really cool and exciting because that's an awesome character. I hope they play well with that character. Dial H number 13 bums me out. This book is being canceled. This issue was absolutely awesome, I thought. Most of the issue is window pane man, open window man, whatever his silly name is. Him having a conversation with a chalk drawing child. Not a child that draws chalk drawings, but a chalk drawing of a child. They're on a planet, they're on a world, in a universe where the entire universe is graffiti, chalk graffiti. And he witnesses the child and his parents leaving a movie theater, being held up by a crook outside of the movie theater in an alleyway, and the parents are gunned down. Does that sound familiar? Sounds familiar to this guy too, because that's the experience he had. He had as a boy. He had the same experience mirroring as Batman. And for him, they show him having kind of talking about how his experience was and about how this chalkboard drawing, he tells this chalkboard drawing, you gotta start doing all these physical exercises. You gotta put yourself in most peak physical conditions you can. You've got to become this detective. You've got to learn all this stuff. And so the boy's learning all this stuff and asking why of this person who keeps doing this stuff for him. He's like, because you're going to need it down the road. You're going to need it down the road. Inspiration's going to hit. And when that inspiration hit, you'll know what you need to be. In this case, he looked out an open window, and that was his inspiration, to the open window man, as opposed to the bat coming in or anything like that. He draws a bat cave down below, or whatever kind of cave for the chalk boy. Chalk boy decides he's not going the same route. That if you look at positive and not think of the ill will of things, you won't end up in the same place. And so they end up diverging from each other. But the story is told in a wonderful way. I just think it's really cool. And maybe it sounds cheesy me talking about it, but it was very, very cool. Well, this whole process is everybody else, all the other heroes, all the other Dial H people, are working really hard to try and figure out how to get this dial, which has been chalk drawn, into their universe. How can they use it? Because it's on a wall. They can't use it. He ends up figuring out how to get himself into the world, through a window and into this chalk world, and he brings the dial back so they can move on to chase down the Fixer and defeat the Fixer and potentially the Centipede also. Just a wonderful story. I despite the fact that maybe me talking about it sounds cheesy, it was just a wonderful story. Him kind of, reliving this once again, because this is how it is, kind of a thing, And of course, Batman not being mentioned anywhere in it, but that's really the same sort of thing. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Really, really enjoyed that book. Next up, Earth 2. Issue 13, we get a lot more of was it Captain Steel, Commander Steel, Sergeant Steel, Character Steel, Citizen Steel? I can't remember what his name is now. Isn't that horrible? A lot more of him climbing down into a pit, one of these pits that the Eighth had created in the process trying to destroy Darkseid, these pits that can't go away, that are awful irradiated things. One in Rio they can climb into. So he goes down into it to discover what's going on. A lot more plot threads get dangled in this issue. A lot more interesting stuff's going on to give us more stuff that we could all work with and whatnot. We get a little bit of Hot Girl in this one. This guy goes down to one of these burning, blasting lava pit kind of places, comes back out all half destroyed, going, oh my gosh, we gotta stop the Red Lanterns down there. If the Red Lantern gets out, it's gonna destroy the world. So we got this other thing going on. Got 3 more issues, and James Robinson, the writer, is no longer on this book. What the next writer's going to do with all this stuff that's out there, because there's tons and tons of things going on. I really enjoyed the book. This jumps right off from where the annual was. I think it's a really interesting universe, giving us lots and lots of things going on. I'm starting to get a little worried that we're not working on some of these solid stories that we had at the very beginning. We'll open up the door for to tell lots of stories, but are we going to get any of them completed? Is there going to be enough room to do that? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Batman's in this once again. Batman has some knowledge, kind of like our old traditional Batman, as far as kind of what's going on, but not really. He's helping Hawkwoman. He kills people. I'm pretty sure this pretty much shows him blasting the hell out of people. So that's kind of interesting. I don't mind the character, though. So far, it hasn't hindered the book. It's not pulling it off in some direction. He's not in charge of anything. He's not the boss guy. He's not it's Batman. Batman always wins. We're not getting into any of that stuff yet. So that's all okay. I don't know when a new writer catches it what's going to happen. But still really enjoyed the book. Yeah, good stuff. Green Arrow, issue number 21. Solid book since these new creators have been on the book. I really enjoyed this one because he gets to the end of his path. He kind of gets shown kind of what's going on with his father, this island, this whole thing. We find out there's these different secret societies. I was wrong before I talked about them being animals. No, they're not animals at all. There's like a Society of the Axe, the Arrow, the Spear, all these different things. And there's this like magical enlightened weapon out there for each of these clans. If you get that weapon, if you have that weapon, you've gotten total enlightenment and total power kind of thing going on. Interesting. Really interesting that they're making Green Arrow into potentially more of potentially a mythic kind of a thing, at least in his own book anyway, this pursuit. And I don't know if we'll stay in mysticism, but there's a certain amount of it definitely dealt here, and he's going to have to go track down some people to try and figure out some stuff's going on and seek revenge on Komodo, who's really messed up and whatnot. What I also enjoy about this is 3 issues, and we tied up this whole kind of arc of him kind of re-finding himself, getting himself grounded, getting a few answers to some questions about what happened to him. And now he's on his feet, and it's like, okay, we're going forward. He's got kind of Team Arrow, as they're calling themselves. He's got the lady who used to help him in the book before, who survived the attack from Komodo and whatnot. She's there to help him work on the trick arrows as best they can. Yeah, he's no longer a billionaire, but he figures with the salary he's getting paid for working with Justice League of America, that'll be enough to get them by as they pursue honestly being a hero and honestly trying to help and make a difference, and not just be a spoiled rich kid trying to make himself feel better, but that they might actually make a difference. So I'm really excited to see where the book's going to go forward now that he's not doing the soul searching thing. Now he's actually going to aggressively go out and take charge of something, as opposed to basically being on the receiving end of being a punching bag for 3 or 4 issues. So really excited by that. Really good issue, I think. Lemire does a good job of writing him in an interesting way, I think. For this new Green Arrow, the new 52, and of course Sortino artwork is fabulous, and Mundam, I'm killing his name, the colorist who moved over from iVampire onto this book with them, just makes the artwork and the thing outstanding and a joy to read. If you like the artwork in iVampire, regardless of whether it's a Green Arrow book or not, and maybe you're not into Green Arrow, you should be picking it up because the artwork continues to be excellent in it. Hypernaturals issue 12, the end of Hypernaturals. I didn't realize the thing was coming to an end. 12 issues for them to completely finish up a full story arc. Leaves things open to where they could tell more stories if they wanted to, but kind of changes the world with the end of this thing. I'm not going to talk about it a whole bunch because I know there's some people who follow me who are buying the trades, and I don't want to spoil the ending other than say, woo, hey, there's an ending. When I talked to the Boom Studio at Emerald City Comic Con in March, they were a little coy about where this book was going to go forward. That maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I didn't get the impression at the time that there was a maybe it wasn't, but obviously that's the case here. Then okay, ending. I'm going to do a What the Fugue very soon about ending of comic books and my opinion on those and how successful are they or not. It was a fun run though. 12 issues gives you enough to give you a fun story. Leaves the door open for other things that they want to do, which I'd probably pick up if they decide to do some other things with it. Hey, next we're going to talk about Legends of the Dark Knight. Extra long Scarecrow story. Normally these books are 3 stories. This one's only 2. 2 of the stories are just one Scarecrow story, which was fun. Actually, not fun. It was interesting. There were some interesting plays in it. Scarecrow gasses Batman with a topical toxin because, of course, Batman's got himself all filtered up to be not get hit by Scarecrow's normal stuff. And in the psychosis that he's in, he envisions himself as being all crippled up and not being able to be Batman anymore. And Alfred scolds him and gives him this long lecture about how being Batman was always silly in the first place. You know, just think how much good he could have done in the world if it's just spending all his energy on being Batman, if he would have spent it on, you know, fixing world hunger, stopping cancer, and all this other stuff. And you know what? That's actually a really good point. You know, as much as how smart Batman is, and he uses all this technology and stuff to do all these amazing things that he does with his bat gadgets and whatnot, if he applied that much energy to just helping the general societal woes and world woes, would he actually be helping more people than when he just goes and beats up Clayface or the Joker or whatever? Kind of an interesting quandary there. I actually kind of really enjoyed that because of that. That was kind of cool. Next up is the Movement issue 2. I'm really conflicted and kind of confused by this book. I want to like it. It's a Gail Simone book. I love the covers. I wish the Amanda Connor was doing the whole art in it. Art's by Freddie Williams II. Like the guy. He's a great guy. I'm not real keen on his art though. I've avoided Captain Atom when he was doing Captain Atom because I didn't care for his art when I was stuck reading it with the JSA All-Stars before the relaunch in the New 52. I'm just not, there's something about the blockiness of his stuff that I just don't care for. There's characters in here who might be interesting. It's pretty obvious the mouse character who controls rats and mice and stuff like that he is, bonkers. There's Tremor in here, kind of a cool character. They unfortunately have some drawing of her costume in a certain way that is very unappealing. Our main characters don't seem to really know what they're doing, and because they don't know what they're doing, the book feels like it doesn't know what it's doing either. So yeah, I'm just not sure exactly what I think of the book. I'm not enjoying it because it seems so confusing. Or not confusing. It just feels very scattered. It doesn't feel like it has its feet under it like it should have. And I know they're beginning issues, and I'll give it more issues because it's Gail Simone. I'm going to give her a little more room and to see what's going on. But yeah, I don't know. Right now, there's not anything really other than it being Gail Simone to keep me reading this book. I know some people are talking about how they really like it. They really think it's great, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing that they're enjoying, or is it just the Gail high? I mean, I can understand that to some degree. Gail's a great, cool creator. Champions a lot of great stuff, and I get that, and that's why I'm giving the book some slack as far as how many issues I'm going to read before I decide I'm not going to read it. But it's not really very captivating right now. It just doesn't have. It doesn't feel like it has a direction, and I don't feel invested in the characters. And it's not just that they're new characters; there's not enough to any of them to make me want to be interested in them. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm conflicted on that book. Phantom Stranger. I guess I'll talk about this a little bit because, of course, all you people who are on the Phantom Stranger train are Dowdy and Chris and all the others. And of course, now it's now entitled Trinity of Sin. I'm dropping my comic books here. Okay. I like this book in some ways, and I don't like it in other ways. I think it's interesting and all. I love the pantheon that that the Phantom Stranger deals in. It's always interesting to me. It's one of the things I like about the magical world of the DC Comics. So I'm okay with that. It feels like the Phantom Stranger is just a little too preachy. Much better writing than when Dan was on the book. But I don't know, it just feels preachy. After a while, I'm reading, I'm just like blah, 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 blah. You know? Why can't you just simply say whatever the hell it is you want to say instead of being all preachy about it? And not preachy as in, you know, reading us the gospel. Just preachy as in high and mighty telling you how it's going to be. And I sometimes get tired of that. I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to get this book. Because it doesn't, this whole soul-searching thing isn't really doing it for me. I liked Phantom Stranger when he was a mystery character. Now he seems not like a mystery character. We're just getting a lot of his personal life. As opposed to the old 1969 through 70-something Phantom Stranger book where he dealt with a mystery as a mystery himself, and I enjoyed that, and I'm not enjoying this as much. I'm probably going to hang on to this through the Trinity War thing because I know he's some slice of it. I don't plan on picking up the Pandora thing, which is, of course, another character that's kind of tied to this. And, of course, there's the Question person who's tied to this also. Even if they came out of the Question book at this point, I'm not sure I'd pick one up, and I really like the Question. Just not sure I like this overexposure of the character. I like the mystery of the old one. So, yeah. So I'm going to hang on to it through the Trinity War. We'll see what happens at the end of that. If this still just continues to just be kind of an introspection on this character, I'll probably quit getting it. I mean, I think the idea of the whole burning off the 30 pieces of silver is somewhat interesting. But that can't be the whole book. For me, that can't be the whole book. It's not that interesting. So there's that. Red She-Hulk number 66. If you heard on Comic Roundtable 2 weeks ago, you'll hear Scott talk about this book, about the fact that Man-Thing in it talks, which is crazy. Of course, I don't know that he actually... Well, I guess he does talk. I don't know. I haven't figured out whether he's talking or if he's thinking out loud that everybody can hear it. In his silly Louisiana accent. This issue was kind of crazy all over the place. I'm not sure if this is the quick scramble to get it done because in a couple issues they're pulling the plug on Red She-Hulk. It is being canceled after this arc. Or if this was always the intention of it. But it was still... I'm enjoying it. You get this kind of alternate universe that... that Red She-Hulk and Machine Man get themselves into, which causes all kinds of craziness. Kind of an interesting backward story. She's the Hulk. Bruce Banner never turned to the Hulk. Bruce Banner goes bad in different parts in it. Machine Man becomes part of Echelon and fighting all of the humans and superpowers and whatnot. That's all interesting and crazy. Lots of fun. Still really enjoy Red She-Hulk. I hope that she finds a team to be on if she's not going to have her own book. I see they advertising now at Earth's Mightiest, not Earth's Mightiest, but just the Mighty Avengers. And it looks like they're advertising that She-Hulk's going to be in it. I hope not, because She-Hulk's in FF. And if they take the Jen out of FF, that's going to be a real bummer. I don't know how that affects that book. But they should take She-Hulk, a Red She-Hulk instead. Put her in. She can kind of fill the same role, but she really is a different character. She's not just a red-colored She-Hulk. I mean, she is different. She's a different can of worms and really cool and really interesting, and I really like her. Maybe it's just I'm crushing on her. I don't know, but I really like her. Okay, next book, Suicide Risk, issue 2. We all wondered at the ending of last issue. We all went, okay. we thought this book was going to be about how does a cop deal with not having superpowers around a bunch of people who have superpowers. Well, we find out in this one, you know, he got superpowers. We kind of learn how his superpowers work to some degree. And now we also find out where the title comes from, because he actually uses the title in this thing. Because he doesn't have really very good control over his powers. It's like he can control air pressure or something like that. It seems to be he can kind of push sound waves. He actually has this really smart daughter explain to him how sound waves work and stuff, which I thought was really interesting. And he does that in preparation because he knows he's going to encounter one of the lesser powerful supervillains who killed a whole bunch of those cops and mangled his partner. And he needs to understand how to shift sound waves to create a barrier to keep him from being hit by this guy who uses sound to smack people around and stuff. You know, does some detective work. He started lying to his family. He's kind of coming apart, but he's a suicide risk because he can't think. Interesting story. I don't know. I'm super excited by it now. I'm going to keep reading it because I think they're going to tell us something. I think there's the man himself is interesting, and his now obsession with taking these guys, dealing with these guys in a way that's probably not appropriate. You know, hunting them down and trying to take them out. I don't know if he's out to kill them, arrest them, what his plan is. And now he's got these superpowers. I mean, heck, he was repelling everything away from him at one point. Like, he can't wash his hands. He can't get a drink of water. Everything in the entire house. People like pouring water out of the faucet, and the water turns sideways in proximity to wherever he's at because it's pushing, the water's being repelled away from him. Just really strange stuff. So I'm not 100% sure what his powers really are. And I'm still curious about the whole, you know, people walking around in an alley with a little kind of funky magic techno wand that they can zap people and give them powers. And the fact that he seemed to be off the scale. And what does that all mean? Could be interesting. But it's called Suicide Risk because he is a suicide risk using his powers because they don't know how his powers work. I don't know about that. I still don't know about the title of that book. Shadow Man. I am coming down to the end of reading Shadow Man. I think I have to order comics this weekend. Probably do that after I'm done doing these videos. I don't think I'm going to continue on this. Not that it's a bad book. It's just not 100%. It's not what I thought it was going to be. This Shadow Man character, the idea of him is cool. But art is somewhat inconsistent. I don't know why this person is even on the picture because she isn't even in this book at all. You know, that might have to do with the whole Valiant War thing they have going, the Harbinger War thing that they have going on. But the book's not going anywhere. We're not really dealing with anything. There's this threat that never seems to really go away, but they don't ever really deal with it. And yeah, if you're reading this book, let me know. Why should I be continuing to pick up this book? And I wish they'd get a consistent artist on it. It doesn't seem like they are ever going to do that either. But yeah, somebody talk to me. Tell me why I should still be reading that book if you're reading that book. And lastly, Swamp Thing, issue 21. Absolutely loving this new direction of the book. Love the new writer. This issue happens to have Jesus Saiz doing the artwork on it. He is a rock star of an artist as far as I'm concerned. His people look so beautiful but so real. He does the Swamp Thing really cool. The textures, the details are all there. Fine line work that I really, really appreciate. This is a very interesting story. We've got this person that's come to him and is seeking asylum of some sort. She's, she's hundreds of years old. We don't know what's the story with her. She's asking for asylum. We kind of learned some stuff about this whole asylum thing that a prior Swamp Thing has promised. But our current Alec, he can't deal with that right now because he also has got to beat in on the Seed. So he's off to Scotland to chase down the Seed because the Seed has actually trapped and killed one of the Parliament of Trees, it looks like. One of the people who was explaining some of this whole sanctuary thing that this woman is claiming. While he's kind of explaining stuff, he actually gets shriveled up and his power gets sucked away. And Alex almost gets sucked away. Pulls himself out of it, but it leaves enough of a trail for him to chase this person down. And at the very end, we get a picture of a guy in a hoodie kind of thing. He's got a staff. He's got some pouches at his side. Is that the seed? And what does that really mean? And what is the seed all about and stuff? Very, very gorgeous book. Very interesting. Moves right along. There's my yawn for the video. And yeah, it's cool. I'm actually enjoying this more than than a large chunk of the Snyder run, because it feels like it's moving along at a pretty good pace, moving right into the next thing. You know, we've got this longer story arc, it seems, with the whole the seed. But in each book, we also get another story going on that gets resolved relatively quickly, in some sense, and gives us the information we need. And I thought it was pretty awesome. Anyway, that's it for this time. Hopefully this wasn't horribly long. That was comic books from 2 weeks ago. I am actually done reading my comic books from this week, the second week of June. So I should be recording those fairly soon also, and trying to get them up as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you throughout the week on your videos.